During the 2019 D23 Expo, the Walt Disney World Company announced an overhaul and reimagination for Epcot, one of the four major Disney theme parks featured in the Orlando area. Although the reception of the redesign was received rather well amongst many Disney fans, there were still many of those who did not enjoy seeing what the new design and new incorporated rides had to offer. Even though there may always be people who complain about new ideas companies promote, there was still something about the whole design that just did not feel right. Although the park still felt like any other Disney theme park, it did not feel like what Epcot was meant to be. The project itself was not inherently a bad idea, as the Epcot theme park has needed an overhaul for at least a decade now. The ideas for the rides and attractions even sound great on paper, with the company bringing in a new Guardians of the Galaxy themed roller coaster and a trackless ride from Disneyland Paris that was centered around Ratatouille. People noticed rather quickly that the new redesign seemed to be heavily focused on different intellectual properties that Disney owns, which is one of the many reasons fans were upset looking at the new Epcot. One may argue that these IPs have always been part of the Disney parks, but Epcot was always the exception to this rule. When the Epcot Center opened in October 1982, the rides and experiences were not centered around any Disney characters. It was as if it was built to be the park without the mouse. The park did show that rides could still be fun, inspiring, and educational without needing to rely on a character to sponsor the ride. Even over the years, although changes have come and gone to the rides showcased, most of the attractions still upheld the original ideals of the initial Epcot Center. These ideals were, of course, to entertain the guest, but also to inform them about the world around and to inspire to help create the future. Looking at some of the most popular attractions around Epcot currently, we have Soarin', Test Track, and Mission Space, all rides that fit these standards, and none of them have any sponsor character to the ride. Disney currently seems to ignore these rides, though, as they believe that if you attach a character or IP to the ride, then people will line up to experience the attraction. Although they do have a point with their newest Frozen Ever After ride doing very well in the Norway Pavilion, it still does not fit the overall theme of the park. I do believe that they amended this by showcasing a small museum that allows guests to learn about where the inspiration for the Frozen characters came from and their ties to Norway's culture. However, the rides shown off at the D23 Expo did not seem to care much for the standards of the Epcot park. The Guardians of the Galaxy roller coaster sounds like a blast, and I'm sure it will draw in crowds, but the purpose of the ride is only to entertain. The ride is overtaking the original Universe of Energy attraction, which granted would seem boring to today's standards. It is understandable to add a roller coaster to the park, as that would be very exciting, but what happened to the ideals upheld by Epcot? It just feels like Disney is throwing away a legacy in order to try and bring in more crowds. It would be different if they tried to create a roller coaster centered around energy, showcasing how it is everywhere and how we can imagine energy usage in the future. This would not only honor the past of the rides previously, but it would still be a thrilling adventure people would want to come and ride. Although Disney may be able to incorporate entertainment, education, and inspiration well into the rides, attractions, and scenery throughout the park, with including some of their characters and IPs, they need to be careful. Epcot should not focus on these characters to sell its attractions and the park. All the newest rides and features to the park all seem to include a character from a movie into it all somehow. Once again, Epcot has never been a park to be overrun by these properties. There was a charm to the fact that it was a Disney park without these characters. From the rides to the new showcases, and even the newest nighttime show, Harmonious, it seems as if Disney wants to cram these characters down into the throats of the guests. I believe that Epcot can benefit from having some IPs in the park, but it should not completely overtake that as this is supposed to still showcase the future of our world. Fictional characters may be able to showcase our world of today, but how will that better our community of tomorrow? Bringing back the newest nighttime show, Harmonious, it is easy to see just how far Disney has come from understanding what Epcot is. If one were to take the show and put it in any other Disney theme park and leave it as that nighttime show, it would still fit. Granted, yes, the show is pretty, and it's interesting to hear what songs from movies of different cultures are their own languages. Yet the show falls into the same problem as the Guardians of the Galaxy roller coaster. The show is only meant to entertain. I feel that Harmonious should be compared to the show preceding it, Illumination's Reflections of Earth. That show had a story, had soul, and left guests with a sense of hope for what a great future would look like. Truly a show dedicated to the fundamentals of Epcot. Harmonious, however, does not have a story, is lacking a soul for using the same songs from Magic Kingdom's Happily Ever After nighttime show, and it does not leave any inspiration for what the hope of the future beholds. Overall, I wish I was excited for the reimagination of one of my favorite theme parks, but this rejuvenation feels like a shell of what Epcot once was. With the debut of Harmonious, the more only character-filled rides on the way as well, there is a lack in understanding what the theme of their theme park really is. With some of the coolest rides that are there currently, once again being Soarin', Test Track, and Mission Space, it is easy to see what Disney is capable of creating. We know they can honor the past with showcasing our future. It seems that Disney has lost its sense of inspirational education, only focusing on the entertainment aspect, with this being one of the easiest aspects to cater to. All in all, the overhaul of Epcot is making me question if they really do care about our experimental prototype community of tomorrow, and if Disney really understands just what makes the park so special.